Today we have the opportunity to hear from Allison Joy, who is our Emergency Preparedness Manager that works with the Emergency Police. I'll give them a moment to introduce themselves, and then after that, we'll start our presentation. So without further ado, Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marvin, and hello and welcome to everyone. As he stated, my name is Allison Joy. I'm the emergency manager for the university. I've been here for 8 years now. And as you'll hear during the FAQ presentation, at the forefront of all of this, I can't reiterate it enough. This is a very safe campus. We do have a lot of measures in place, not only for day-to-day security, but in the event that there is some sort of larger incident or emergency that happens. So I will give you some resources you can look up on your own if you want some more detail about how do we prepare for earthquakes or fires or any of the other 25 threats that we have identified. We have those plans publicly posted. So if you are curious about what measures we have in place for all hazards, you can view that on our website. Yeah, with that, I guess, Marvin, do we go to the pre-recorded portion now?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Allison Joy. I am the Campus Emergency Preparedness Manager, and I work for the University Police Department. And today I'm going to be speaking briefly about some of the frequently asked questions related to safety and security on campus. And specifically, I will be talking about the safety programs and safety services that the University Police Department does offer. So you should be seeing my screen. We're just going to go over some of the top FAQs. This is a pretty high level overview. I won't be going too in depth, but I guess the most frequently asked question is how can you contact us or how can you communicate with us? So this is important for your student to know. When they are physically here on campus, they can just dial 911 and it will go directly to the University Police Department. We do have our own dispatch center here on campus. And we also have text to 911. So if you are on campus and there is a situation where you don't feel safe placing a phone call and talking to a dispatcher, you can actually text with us instead. Our non-emergency line, this is what you can use if you are wanting to speak to the police department, or maybe you haven't heard from your student and you want a welfare check. This is how you would contact us. So this is our non-emergency line. It still goes to a dispatcher. It still goes to the same spot, but it will not be using up the 911 or the emergency line. So we do recommend all of our students, employees, parents have this number saved in your phone. And that's the 562-985-4101 number. And then lastly, we do have a few options for submitting information to us anonymously. So if you want to report a crime tip and it's not life-threatening, it doesn't require you to call 911, but you just want to give us a heads up, you can leave an anonymous voicemail at that second number that's listed. Or we also have a form on our website where you can submit crime tips and other information anonymously as well. How can you learn about crime statistics or trends here on campus? So if your students coming here, I'm sure you're very concerned and interested in the safety of the campus and what crimes have occurred or do occur, what those trends and stats look like. We do publish several annual reports, and you can view breakdowns for not only the last year, but last previous years. So there's multiple reports you can view on the University Police Department website. One of them is the Cleary report, which would be mostly the crime information. And then we also have a safety report, which includes things like testing our fire alarm system and the sprinklers, testing our emergency notification system, how often do we do drills, how do we do preparedness activities. So those are annual reports, they're publicly posted, you can find those on our website. Can parents receive emergency alerts from the university? Yes, you can. There's two ways you can do that actually. If you would like to receive an email, you can actually have your student add your email into their contact information inside their student portal in the single sign-on. Or if you just want to enroll your cell phone number to receive alerts to your cell phone, you can do so by texting the words START, CSULB, to the number 23177. This will enroll that cell phone to receive alerts from the campus as a text message and as a phone call. So if we have an emergency situation unfolding on campus, you will get a text notification as well as a phone call and a voicemail if you do not answer. Do students participate in campus emergency drills and exercises? Yes, we certainly hope they do, but of course we only do them certain times a year. And if a student is not here at that day or that time, then they might not be able to participate. But the students who are on campus on days that we do drills and training exercises, they are always invited to attend. So we typically will do an earthquake drill every fall, and we will do our fire drill or our evacuation drill every spring. Those are campus-wide ones that we do each year. And then there's smaller scale ones we do throughout the year as well. So sometimes we do a drill just for the library or just for the dorms. So there's other smaller ones that come up throughout the year. And they're always announced in advance. So we never surprise the students or surprise the campus with a drill. They will always know that it's coming, and they'll know very clearly how they can participate. How does the campus prepare students for armed intruder or active shooter threats? So we do have a training video that we show as part of the new student orientation, and we also show it anytime we're giving presentations, whether it's safety trainings, preparedness trainings, anytime we have that audience, whether it's with students, faculty, or staff, we will typically show this video. It's also available on our website, and it's an 8.5-minute video that discusses the run, hide, fight response model. So this is the response model that the entire CSU system adopted probably 10 or 12 years ago. So we're all training our campuses the same way. So we have a response mode that we teach. We offer free active shooter trainings on request. So it can be requested by any campus group or department or class or student club. Myself and others from the University Police Department will come out and provide those trainings for free, and those can be requested on our website as well. We have a few other resources that are on that webpage. We have a resource guide that breaks down the run, hide, fight model and the campus mechanisms that are in place for responding to an active shooter. So again, a lot of these things, I only have a brief time to mention them, but more in depth, you can find them on our police department webpage. How can students request an escort to their car or their dorm if they are on campus after hours? So our university police department, we do employ student workers that are called CSOs or community service officers, and they provide what we call our escort service, which means after hours, you can call and have an escort or a ride take you back to your dorm or back to your vehicle. So if you don't feel safe walking across campus by yourself in the dark, later at night, you don't have to, please call us. We are happy to provide that escort for you. And that can be requested by calling that number that I mentioned earlier, the non-emergency line, that 562-985-4101. Or if you don't have your cell phone on you or your phone is dead, we also have about 300 emergency phones located throughout the campus. Each one of those is a direct line to the university dispatch, and so you can hit one of those and communicate with us that way as well and request that escort. What type of safety equipment does the university have in place? So we have, as I mentioned, emergency phones. So we have approximately 300. That includes wall-mounted phones, freestanding towers, and then call boxes in all of the elevators. We also, of course, have fire extinguishers, we have first aid kits, we have AEDs or automatic external defibrillators, we have bleeding control kits located alongside all of the AEDs, we have evacuation chairs in all of our multi-story buildings. And so what I recommend is for students who are starting to realize that all of their classes are in the same building, or they're spending most of their time in the same areas, that they kind of make a mental note of where these things are located. So we don't want them searching for an emergency phone or searching for a fire extinguisher for the very first time in the middle of an emergency. I would much rather they've already done a mental inventory, they know where these things are in the places that they spend the most amount of time. And many of these things, you can view them on the campus webpage. We have several interactive maps, and so you can layer the maps depending on what you want to see. So if you just want to see where AEDs are located, you can do that. And again, that's on the main campus webpage. Okay, does the university offer any safety training for students? So I already briefly mentioned that we do provide active shooter training, but student groups can actually request any number of preparedness or emergency safety training from us, whether it's fire safety, fire extinguisher use, earthquake preparedness, general emergency preparedness, how to build a kit, things like that. All of those trainings we provide free of service, and they can be requested on our webpage or with that email that's listed. Those requests go directly to me and I will reach out and get it scheduled with them. Who can attend the self-defense classes that University Police hosts each semester? So our department does host a women's self-defense class once per semester. So who can attend? Any woman can attend. So it isn't limited to students or employees. Non-affiliates are welcome to come as well. So if your student has a neighbor, a sister, a friend, someone who they'd feel more comfortable taking the class with, they can bring them. The only caveat is this is only for women. So affiliated or not affiliated with the campus does not matter, but we do only offer this to women. We have a sign-up list on our webpage, and you can join the interest list. So if your student is interested in taking this self-defense class, and it is a beginner's self-defense class, they can go to our website, join the interest list. That way, as soon as the fall session is booked, they will get an email and be notified, and they'll be able to sign up for our next self-defense class. Lastly, I know I keep referencing this department website. This is the web address. It is csulb.edu/police, and we have a lot of resources there. So a lot of the ones I've already mentioned, you can view crime reports, safety reports. We have hazard guides for all of the different hazards that face the campus. We have our evacuation plan, evacuation routes, there's campus maps. We have guides to assist with preparedness planning. So there's a lot of resources there. Everything that I just briefly mentioned, you can get much more detail if you visit that website. And then lastly, we do have 2 social media accounts. And so if you or your student are active on social media, these are good accounts to follow. When we have any type of incident on campus, not just a big emergency, but even just a crime, an arrest, something that is of interest that we would like the campus to know about, we will publish it on our social media accounts. So we have our Twitter and we have our Instagram. Just note that the Instagram does have that underscore in the middle of CSULB Police, and we will post updates there during an actual critical incident as well. So we do use these for crisis communication. And with that, I know that was very brief, but please take a look at that website for our department, Campus Police Department. We have a lot of information there, and we are happy to answer any questions beyond what you can find there. Thank you so much for watching.
Fantastic, folks. Alrighty, folks. So hopefully you all were able to learn a little more information regarding the video. In a moment, we will be starting our Q&A portion. Before we begin, I just want to go over once again how you'll be able to actually submit your questions. So once again, for everyone that's joining us via Zoom webinar, you'll use your mouse to scroll to the very bottom of your screen to select on the toolbar, and then from there you'll be able to submit your questions in the Q&A function. So if anybody that's watching us on Facebook World, once again, you'll be able to submit your questions by sending them into the chat box or the comment section of Facebook, and then you'll be able to answer your questions. So with that being said, we'll begin today's presentation with our Q&A portion for today. So let's see. First question that we have up. So Allison, the first question that we have up is, can students report a student-related incident to the UPD?
So I won't have video. I apologize for that. I've been having issues with it. So the question was, can students report a student issue to the University Police?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So obviously, if you're concerned about someone's safety, if they have exhibited any kind of threatening behavior either to themselves or others, that's something you would call 911 with. If it is not quite that critical, so let's say you have a fellow student who is maybe struggling with grief or substance abuse or housing insecurity, food insecurity. Okay, sorry, I thought someone was speaking. If it's something more along those lines where it's not a crime and it's not life safety, the campus does have something called CARES. It is a behavioral intervention team. So CARES is an acronym. It's the Campus Assessment and Risk Evaluation for Students. But basically it is a multi-department task force that is chaired by the Dean of Students. And anybody can refer a student to CARES so that we can connect that student with a counselor or a social worker and start getting them help and resources. So absolutely, you can always contact the police department, but I do want to stress that there are other avenues on campus as well if someone does not want to go the law enforcement route.
Fantastic. Thank you, Allison. And folks, we also dropped the link in the chat for the CARES team if anyone is interested in saving it as a bookmark on their page. Cool. Let's see. The first question up next we have, what time do you consider after hours? Do we have to call way ahead of time? How much notice is needed? What is the wait time?
Okay, so I'm guessing this is referencing the safety escorts that our student workers offer. So generally speaking, after hours, we're talking about 6 p.m. to midnight. However, if you were calling outside of those hours, we will still accommodate the request. It's just that 6 to midnight is when we have the most CSOs, those student workers, that's when we have the most of them working. So if you were to call at say 2 a.m., and we don't have a CSO available, we would send a police officer. So you would still be able to receive a safety escort. However, when it comes to wait time, it would be subject to any calls that they're on. So if they're already tied up and they're already doing an escort or they're on a call for service, we would have to wait for them to finish that and then come. So generally the wait time is about 10 minutes or so, but if it happens to be really busy or they're already on a call, it might be longer. But when you call to request it, the dispatcher will give you an estimate of how long it's going to be, because that dispatcher is always going to know how many officers do I have, how many CSOs do I have, are they busy or are they on a call? So they're going to know right away whether they're going to be able to send someone immediately or if it's going to be a little bit of a wait, and they'll let you know.
Fantastic. There's actually a follow-up question to that one. Are the UPD available 24/7?
Yes, we are here 24/7, so nights, weekends, holidays. There will always be police officers. There will always be dispatchers, and the rest of us are on call 24/7. So if something does start to happen, we would all be expected to come. So there's always going to be some representation of university police at all times on campus.
Great. Thank you, Allison. It's a very common question that gets asked. Is pepper spray permitted on campus?
Yes, it is. And not only is it permitted, we actually recommend it. We're big advocates for pepper spray. We used to actually sell it in the bookstore. I haven't been there in the past couple months to see if we're still selling it, but it's the little 2.5 ounce, keychain canister that you can get almost anywhere. You can get it at a gas station. You can get it at Target. So you can absolutely carry that. The only thing I recommend is if you're going to carry it, it can't just sit in the bottom of your backpack or your bag, right? It has to be readily available. It has to be something that you kind of have in the back of your mind that you can reach and are willing to use if you need to at a moment's notice.
Awesome. It's an interesting question. Do you offer safe e-commerce exchange sites?
We don't have any that are posted. However, I know generally speaking, police departments like to say that they're a good meeting spot if you are selling or meeting someone that you coordinated with online. So if you did need to do that on campus, you can absolutely do that in the parking lot right in front of our police station. We have camera coverage there. So it's not posted, but that's just good to know. You can always meet someone in a police station parking lot.
Thank you. Let's see. The website states that the RAD Women's Defense class are on hold due to COVID. Do students just join the interest list?
Yes, so we will resume it in the fall. So we put RAD on hold during COVID, and we have been kind of slow to restart it because it is a very close contact, very hands-on course. So we're going to be resuming it in the fall with smaller class sizes. So join the interest list. When you join the interest list, I will have your contact information, and as soon as those dates and times are confirmed, you will get an email about it.
Thank you for that. Is the CSO just for in-campus, or is it for students who go to CSUOB?
I'm not sure what the question is.
I think they're asking if it's only for students that live on campus, or if it's for the entire populace of CSUOB.
Oh, it's for any students. So there is some basic criteria with GPA, but as long as you're a current student, you can work with us as a student worker, as a CSO. So you don't have to live here. It can be any student.
Great. This question asks, maybe off topic, my student will be traveling back home once a month for the first 3 months. Does the campus have a designated taxi cab area to go to the airport?
We do. It's not, just for taxi, but it is a ride share, drop off, pickup location. So if they are taking, say, Uber or something, it will come up as, where the driver should go on campus. It's not formally written on a map, but we refer to it as the east turn on campus. So we do have a designated spot where they can go, where the driver should already be aware and comfortable of how to navigate it.
Great. If they are off campus, how does work how does work for I'm sorry, this question. If they are off campus, how does this work for the safety? I'm a little confused with the question.
So I think just like what's their options for safety if
I
they're not.
just assume that, yeah.
Okay, so if they're going to be off campus living in apartments or something like that, then if they do have an incident, that would fall under the Long Beach Police Department. However, if your student happens to feel more comfortable dealing with the university police department because we are smaller and we work with the students every day, they could still come to us and we can do what's called a courtesy report. So we can still take the report and kind of get the ball rolling with the whatever it is that's happened and then hand it over to Long Beach PD. So they could still actually deal with us if they prefer to, but if they're living elsewhere in the city of Long Beach, it would be the city police department.
Awesome, thank you, Allison. And we actually have a follow-up for the question from earlier. They meant to say this, the CSOs to escort a student off campus. Can the CSO escort students off campus?
Oh, so they can only take the students to, we do have a dorm complex off campus called Beachside. So we will take our students if they're in the off campus dorms, but that is it. Other than that, it's only for inter-campus travel. So usually that means they're going from the upper campus area where like the library is and the academic buildings are, and they need to get back down to where they parked. So most of the escort calls are actually just to be taken either back to their car or to their dorm. But we can't take you to the grocery store or something like that.
Follow-up question on that. Um, let's see. Does it matter where the CSOs pick you up from campus? Is there a place so that you're supposed to be for designated pickup, or can you be picked up from, let's say, the library?
Yeah, you can be picked up from anywhere. They will, when they're on the phone with you, just decide at that point some marker location for where they're going to get you from. But there's no parts of campus that we would not pick you up from.
Great. So the question, I just bought a birdie device for my student. Are you all familiar with what that is?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe, is it the personal alarm keychain? I don't know if that person can give me an answer if that's what they're referring to.
We'll see what they elaborate on, but we'll just ask that for right now.
Okay.
Let's see. They said yes.
Okay, so it's a personal alarm device. So it's usually a keychain and it has a little pin or something that you can pull and it emits a really loud alarm sound. It's a great option for someone who wants to have some kind of sense of security, but they don't want to be carrying, a weapon or pepper spray. They don't really want to, hurt someone, but they want to be able to draw attention and try to deter someone from maybe trying to rob them. So that's another good thing. So pepper spray is great. Those personal alarm devices are great. All of these things are good. It just, again, it comes down to the intent to use it, make sure that they have it readily available, they know how to use it, and that they, test it because the battery can die. But yeah, those are great. We don't sell those in the bookstore that I know of, but those are great. I have one myself.
That's the first time I'm hearing about this. I'm gonna look into that a little more.
Yeah, they're very loud.
Awesome. Let's see. Do students living on campus get safety training such as active shooter training events, or do they need to request that as a group as well?
So we kind of have tiers of active shooter training. There's kind of the very basic that almost all of our students get either through SOAR or through, if they're international students or transfer students, and they might have different channels they go through. But that's a very basic one where we at least want them to understand the run, hide, fight model, and we have them watch the video. We have then on the other end of the spectrum, a full hour-and-a-half training that we do, and that one is by request. So we would have to be asked to come out, and we can do it for a floor. We can do it for an entire dorm complex. We've done it for a group of 150 at one point. So they basically, they get the nitty gritty, very basic training, but if they want the more in-depth, hands-on, in-person hour-and-a-half training, they will request that from us.
Following up on trainings, this person asked, do you all offer additional trainings like AED or CPR trainings?
Um, We can. So the thing there, we will do CPR and AED trainings, but we don't do certification because there's money involved with that. So we do the trainings just to teach the information, but they don't get the actual certificate at the end of that. So if they're looking for the certificate, we can connect them with the American Red Cross, which is about 8 minutes away from campus, and they will issue the 2-year certification. Here we teach American Heart Association courses, but because we're not charging for it, we don't issue certifications. And that is also by request.
Awesome. That's an interesting question. In the event that my student gets in trouble with campus and let's say they get arrested hypothetically, knock on wood, that doesn't happen, would I be notified as their parent or would I be notified at all since I am technically their emergency contact?
Um, it's going to depend on the incident. So generally speaking, no, because they are likely an adult. So the short answer is no, but there are instances where we do, or of course, if they request it, we can notify you as their emergency contact. But the short answer is no, but there are exceptions.
Yeah, speaking earlier on FERPA, unfortunately, because of FERPA policy, we have to make sure that we keep the anonymously and the safety of your student private as well. Let's see. What is the biggest call for service that the police department on campus receives?
The biggest call for service is usually property theft, specifically bikes. So year after year, in the 8 years that I've been here, bicycle theft and then things like laptop theft are usually the top of the list. And most of that comes down to things just not being secured. So, a student is maybe studying in the library, they get up to use the restroom, but they leave their things behind because they felt that they were surrounded by other students and it was safe to do so. And they come back and their laptop is gone. So more often than not, that's what we see. It's property crime with bikes and small electronics.
Since you mentioned bikes, as hasn't been asked yet, but gets asked every year, um, are bikes stolen often on campus, and how often can we keep them, or how can we keep them safe?
So we do recommend a certain kind of lock. It's called a U-lock. So as opposed to a cable lock, which could be cut pretty easily if somebody has the right tools. And so if you do have someone who is out looking to steal a bike, they're probably going to be carrying bolt cutters and things like that. So a U-lock is the most secure type of lock you can get. And another thing you can do is register your bike with us. So there's actually a registration database for bikes the same way there is for vehicles. And that way, if your bike ever does get stolen and it's recovered, they would run that bike through that database and be able to return it to you. So that's another service that specifically our CSOs offer. So you can bring your bike to our station and we can get it registered for you.
Yeah, Vice actually, after we did this presentation last year, one of my friends had the bike stolen from campus and actually recovered it from LA because they had it registered on campus. So it works, folks. So make sure you get your bike registered on campus.
That's great. I'm sorry that happened, but it's a happy ending.
Yeah, they got it back. All right, next question is, the pre-SOAR beach board course mentioned Title IX training needs to be completed during the first year or they'll have a whole place in the classes. Do you email these Title IX trainings out to students each year as a reminder to complete them?
Yes, there will be multiple emails. So I think the reminders start 2 or 3 months before, and you'll get prompted routinely until you complete it.
Perfect. How does one apply to be a CSO for work study?
So we actually, I'm not sure if it's going to be on the main campus job site, but we do have it on our webpage. So if you go to, I think Cameron put it in the chat. So our University Police webpage, the CSULB /police, we have a page just for the CSO program, and it has the instructions to apply, and it has the prerequisites to be eligible to apply.
Great, thank you. Follow-up questions to that. How in-depth is the background check for CSOs to work on campus?
It's we'll put you through live scan, so we will do kind of a relatively basic background search or background check. And I say relatively basic because on the flip side, for the rest of us who work for the police department, it's the very in-depth where they track down your ex-boyfriend from 10 years ago and ask them about you. We do not do that to our CSOs. It's going to be a criminal check, DMV check. We run your fingerprints and that's it.
Great, thank you for that. Let's see. Where do we sign up for the interest list?
I think this was maybe about RAD, the self-defense class. So again, on
Absolutely.
our department website, we also have a page specifically for RAD, and there's a little button that you click on the right-hand side that says join interest list.
Awesome. Are electric scooters allowed on campus? And if they are, is this a hot item to get stolen on campus?
They are allowed. They're not allowed everywhere. So the campus does have a map called the Wheeled Pathways map. So if your student is going to be not just on a scooter, but using a bike, using a skateboard, they should kind of take a look at that map and have a good idea of where they can and can't ride it, because certain parts of campus are very densely populated. It's not safe. So they are allowed. I don't recall one of them ever being stolen, and they're also not that heavily used. So they're allowed, but they're not super popular, and it has not been a hot ticket, item to steal.
Great, thank you for that. Let's see. If my student were to lose an item, would they report it to campus police or would there be a different department to report it to?
There is a separate lost and found. So there is a university lost and found. So if someone does turn something into us, we just turn around and hand it over to lost and found. So we don't hold on to any lost property.
Great, thank you. Is there a training regarding alcohol, drug abuse, etc. For students?
There's a program called ATOD, which stands for Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs. However, that's not run through us. That is through the Student Health Center. So the Student Health Center on campus has a team of health educators, and they do a lot of educational campaigns, training presentations, and ATOD is one of them.
Great, thank you. How closely does the University Police Department work with the Long Beach Police Department?
Um, Closely when we have to. Day to day, we have jurisdiction over the campus and all of the campus property, and obviously Long Beach has the rest of the city. However, if there is something that happens on campus that is maybe beyond our resources, they will come in and assist us. They have at times asked for us to assist them, so we already have an MOU in place. So we will work together when we need to, but day to day, there's very little crossover, but the relationship is good.
Great. Let's see. If there is a natural disaster such as an earthquake or a fire on campus, what would be the best way to contact the UPD to find out information regarding our students and any updates that are on campus?
Um, so I would urge you to not call the university police at that time, just because obviously we want to keep lines open for emergencies if there are people who are trapped or injured. And we do have a emergency webpage and an emergency phone number. So in the event of an emergency, we will put a little ticker on the university homepage that links you to that. We will put it out when we send out our emergency alerts. So we will have a web page where we publish the updates so that instead of running around searching for information, people just go to one web page and they can see what the most recent update is. So try not to call 911 or even our non-emergency line unless it truly is, there's an imminent need that you need either medical or police services, but we will have on the university homepage a link to the updates and then a phone line as well.
Awesome. Um, Following up on that question, would you recommend signing up for Beach Alerts now, or would you recommend waiting until the school semester starts?
That's just up to you. If you are just happen to be really curious and want to know if something happens on campus between now and then, you can sign up yourself. That's just a personal choice. There's nothing wrong with being in the loop, so go ahead and enroll.
Follow up to that, this parent asks, my apologies for showing up late, but what are Beach Alerts?
Oh, Beach Alert is the name of our emergency notification system. So all of our students are automatically enrolled to receive them once they became a student here, so they don't have to do any extra steps. So anytime we have an incident on campus or there's a threat of an incident on campus, we will push out notifications to cell numbers, email addresses, PA speakers, etc. So we call them beach alerts just kind of as a branding thing, but it's our emergency alert system.
Yeah, folks, since we are the only school in the country that has beach in their name, so you'll hear beach a lot in
A lot.
everything we
Yeah.
say. Let's see. My student was sharing with me that if they park on campus and they get a ticket, they have to pay a heavy fine. Does the fine go? Where does the fine go?
So there's a separate department, which is parking and transportation services. And so they're responsible for parking enforcement. So that would be the ticketing if someone doesn't have a permit, as well as the shuttle services that operate on campus, and then support for big events. So if you see people doing parking and flow control, it would be those folks. So all of the fines, the payment goes through that department. And I'm sure some of it stays with that department, some goes to the campus, some goes towards safety construction projects and whatnot, but it all funnels through parking and transportation services.
Awesome. Interesting, good question. My other student goes to a different university, and they mentioned that if something were to ever happen to my student and they live on campus, I could call their office to receive a wellness check, I believe. Does your campus also offer a wellness checks as well?
Yeah, so it sometimes it's referred to as wellness check, sometimes welfare check. So let's say you haven't heard from your student in a few days, and that's really unusual. Usually you check in every day, and now you can't get a hold of them. You can call us. Again, for that situation, I would recommend the non-emergency line, and just say, I'm requesting a welfare check. And what we'll do first is we'll look at that student's schedule and then just go see if they're in class. And we'll kind of start there, and then we'll check their dorm. And if we still can't find them, it can turn into a larger investigation to track them down. But that first step would be asking us to check in with them.
Great. And folks, friendly reminder, we are getting close to the end of our session, so please remember to ask questions in the Q&A portion. Any questions that aren't answered during today's session will be recorded and answered at a different time. And then folks that are watching us on Facebook World, same thing. Go ahead and ask questions in the chat, and then we'll record them on our end as well. Cool. Let's see. Same question. All right. How often were sexual assaults reported in the past 12 months at the beach?
As far as I know, I don't believe we've had any that occurred on campus in the last 12 years. However, it's not unusual for one that occurred off campus to then have the student report it to us later on. So I know we've had some of those. I don't know the exact number, so I can't quote, but I want to say maybe 2 or so that occurred off campus. And then later on, they chose to report it to us, and we did that courtesy report on behalf of whatever jurisdiction the crime occurred in. But we did not have one physically occur on campus.
Thank you, Allison. I can answer the next question. Is this being recorded, and can we watch this later? Yes, it's all being recorded, and this will be posted in the Beachfinding portal within a week or so after we've been able to make it ADA accessible. Good question. Let's see. Will prescribed marijuana be confiscated from the UPD on campus?
Yes. So marijuana, even though it's legalized in California, it is still federally criminalized. And because we receive federal funding, it is not allowed on campus grounds. So you cannot have any marijuana or marijuana-derived products on campus.
Great, thank you for that. Let's see. Since my student lives off campus as beachside, does the call, if they call 911, go to the UPD, or does it go to LBPD?
So for them, it will go to Long Beach PD. However, usually once Long Beach PD, once they realize, oh, this is a student calling from the dorms, they will kick it over to us, and that takes just a few seconds. But it will go to Long Beach PD initially.
Great. This question's, this parent asked, this is my first student leaving my home to go to college, and I'm very nervous for their safety. You hear a lot of negative rumors and stereotypes at college. Any advice on how to calm my nerves? I know you say that campus is very safe, but you just never know.
I agree, and I'm the same way. That's probably why I work in this field, is that you just never know. But when I say this is a safe campus, I'm not just saying that. You can pull up the crime reports on the website. You can kind of look at those statistics for yourself. This is not a party school. We don't have a lot of residential students, right? We're mostly a commuter school. We don't have a football team. There's no tailgating. There's a lot of the problems that other large campuses that are highly residential, they have large events, large sport games, they have a lot of the aftermath that comes with that, whether it's sexual assaults, DUIs, assaults. We don't see that because the campus structure is very different and the culture is very different. This campus has a really amazing safety culture. to an extent where they're almost like too careful. And more so, it feels like the campus tends to over-report things as opposed to under-report things, because everyone always has their eyes peeled. Everyone's paying attention. Everyone reports if they see something that's wrong. So I'm thrilled that I get to work on this campus because the campus makes my job very easy. So I know I can't calm all your nerves, but as a fellow nervous person, I feel that this is probably one of the safest universities that I know of.
Thank you. I didn't even know either. I didn't know it was that safe. This parent asked, if a student who is being bullied or harassed, will campus police keep a report of the incident? What steps are taken to keep the student safe?
They can. So it'll depend on exactly what is happening. So obviously there's, it's not all black and white. And even if something doesn't cross into being criminal behavior, it still might violate student conduct. So even if we're not able to take action on the law enforcement side, it could be something on the student conduct side. So there's going to be multiple options, but report it, and we would, even if it's something as simple as letting a student change courses mid-semester so that we can separate them from a person who is, they need to be separated from. So there's multiple options that can be explored. It just depends on exactly what is happening.
This parent asked, so my student does own a taser. Would it be okay for them to keep it in their car, or is it just not allowed on campus at all?
It is not allowed on campus at all. Um, for technically in writing, it is only authorized if you have the approval from the campus president. To my knowledge, she has never granted that approval to anyone, so no tasers allowed.
Perfect. Let's see. Um, is there a protocol to have a service dog on campus?
To have a what?
A service dog.
There's not a protocol, but we do have a department that's called the Bob Murphy Access Center. So it's what's formally referred to as Disabled Student Services. And they do offer kind of support and resources. And I know that they also keep a list of students who do have service dogs, because they want to be able to make contact, or if we have an emergency, we want to know who might need extra assistance. So they can actually choose to opt into that list if they want to be included in that.
Great. And yes, folks, if you are interested in learning more about the Bob Murphy Act Center, we'll be having a session with them in a couple of weeks as well, but they go as BMAC as well. Let's see. Is it possible for parents to volunteer to be a part of safety wellness checks if my student isn't answering the phone?
Only if we then reached back out and asked for that. So if there was more information that we needed from you, or we wanted, access to something, but we would ask you not to, just show up and want to be side by side with the officers on a welfare check. But only if we circle back and ask for further assistance on your end would you be involved.
Great. All right, folks, and it does look like we have two more questions left, and this will be the last questions that we have left for today. But once again, if you have any other questions that pop up, make sure that you put them in the Q&A section, and we'll be able to download them after. So this question is, how safe is the area around the CSULB fraternity/sorority houses? I don't think there's a Greek row, but do you monitor that too?
So yeah, we don't have a Greek row, and we do have a few fraternity and sorority houses throughout the city, and those fall under the jurisdiction of the Long Beach Police Department. So our involvement with those houses would be that we would have to just know that it happened and report it in that Clery report that we compile and post every year, because it's campus affiliated property, but it does fall jurisdiction-wise under the Long Beach Police Department.
Great. Once again, folks, this will be the last question for today, but don't forget to submit your questions in the Q&A portion. What advice would you give to a first-time parent that will be helping their student move to campus and also be very unsure about what to do? I can tell that my students are very nervous and very scared, as am I. What advice would you give me to help give my students a peace of mind?
Oh, that's a big question. Honestly, I guess it depends on what exactly they're nervous about. If it's just the very common nerves of moving out for the first time, I don't think there's anything I can say. I think that's something that they're going to just have to kind of go through, and it's a very common thing. If they are, however, more worried about the physical safety and security, I would share with them what you learned today. I would sit down with them and go over that crime report, look at even just the surrounding city crime report. Long Beach is a huge city, but we are part of a portion of it that's called East Long Beach, and it is a safer portion of Long Beach. And even just looking at those numbers and those stats can do a lot to calm you down. So kind of looking through that data together, if she or they are in fact, data driven, and that will help. But other than that, I just hope that once they come here, they feel very comfortable and those nerves just start to naturally ease.
Great, thank you, Allison. And with that being said, that will be to the end of today's questions. But in the event that you folks have any burning questions that you want to get answered and don't know where to begin or don't know where to start, on the screen right now you see our contact information for the Parent Family Orientation Team. Go ahead and give our office a call or email us at parentfamilyprograms@csub.edu. We're more than happy to help you all out and make sure that we are able to answer any questions that you need answers to. And in the event that we don't know the answer, we will find a way to find the answer for you. Also, oops, sorry, going on from there. We are a learning institution. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're continuously trying to improve our programs to make sure that we offer the best that we possibly can to you. Respectfully, we ask you please take out your phones one last time and open up your cameras, aim them to the screen, and then scan the QR code on the screen. Along with that, we're also dropping the link to the evaluation in the chat to let us know how we're doing. If you fill out the evaluation, it'll only take you about 5 minutes. You'll be able to be entered into an opportunity to win some beach swag if you are selected to be a part of the winner. So please go ahead and just let us know how we did. Let us know how we can improve, and overall, just tell us how your day was going. But before we head out, I did want to say a huge thank you to Allison for spending the last hour with us and sharing all of your knowledge with us. Before we head out, I did want to give you a chance to say any last words to our audience before we head out today.
No, I know we're at the last 2 minutes, so I won't take up any more time. I just want to thank everyone for the great questions. This was a very engaging group with really good questions, and I appreciate all of it. And the warmest welcome to your students. We're very happy to have them.
Thank you, Allison. It's always a pleasure having you with us. And with that being said, folks, I just want to say we know that college can be a very unexpected and surreal moment. It has a lot of unexpected turns, some that are great, some that are bad. But overall, we know that your students can handle it. Our staff, faculty, our committee helping your students navigate and maximize their time here at the beach. And we know that with our support, that we'll all be able to be there at graduation. So that being said, on behalf of our entire PFO staff and on behalf of the beach community, we want to say thank you and welcome. And as always, go beach. Bye, everyone. We'll see y'all next time. Take care of yourselves.